When Alfa Romeo gives its Cloverleaf badge to a car, you can be reasonably certain it means business. In the case of this little MiTo hot hatch, that means a revolutionary 170 brake horsepower 1.4 litre multi-air turbo engine and high-tech active suspension. On paper then, an Italian shopping rocket to take on all comers. Legend has it that shortly before the 1923 Targa Florio motor race in Sicily, Alfa Romeo driver Udo Savocchi found a four-leaf clover by the roadside. Hoping for good luck, he persuaded his team to paint a four-leaf clover symbol on his Alfa Romeo RL race car. Sure enough, he won the race, scoring Alfa Romeo's first major international victory. And from that day on, the Cloverleaf symbol has been found on Alfa Romeo racing cars right around the world. The Cloverleaf badge has also graced many memorable Alfa Romeo production cars too, including the 8C Competizione supercar. This car, the hot hatch MiTo Cloverleaf, is certainly in good company. For a performance brand, Alfa Romeo has been singularly lacking in recent years in the matter of providing the market with a credible high-performance hot hatch. But maybe the Milanese maker was simply waiting until the time was right and all the ingredients were in place. A high-tech 170 brake horsepower 1.4 litre multi-air petrol engine with racetrack pulling power, yet running costs suited to the eco-age. Revolutionary active suspension, instantly adaptable to both driver and road surface. And a charismatic little hatch like this MiTo to base the whole thing on. That famous Cloverleaf badge isn't used lightly, but in this car it may well have found a worthy recipient. Let's check it out. Power for the Cloverleaf version of the MiTo comes from Alfa's hugely impressive 1.4 litre multi-air petrol engine. Now in this guise, the unit uses a turbocharger to enhance the power generated by its advanced combustion process, and the end result is 170 brake horsepower. Now there's 250 Newton meters of torque too, enough to help this car from rest to 60 in 7.5 seconds on the way to a top speed of 136 miles an hour, and that's pretty good going for a 1.4 litre super mini. As importantly perhaps, this is an engine that's endlessly flexible around town, and in terms of overtaking, it's almost as quick as the more powerful Mini Cooper S, which means it's very fast indeed. But speed is worth very little without control, especially on Britain's bumpy B roads, which is why this car's headline feature, its synaptic damping system, or active suspension in layman's terms, is so significant, the Cloverleaf being the first car in its sector to feature anything like it. Based on the road surface and driver input, sensors around the car automatically adjust the dampers to enhance both handling and grip, the same information being further used to tweak the steering and braking via the car's VDC stability control system. The active suspension also brings a new dimension to this car's almost equally clever DNA setup, already provided on lesser MiTos to alter throttle, transmission, steering and stability settings via dynamic, normal and all-weather options that you control via this switch in front of the gear lever here. Now, in a Cloverleaf, it also alters the damper settings too, which makes quite a difference, especially if you have it set in dynamic, where the ride is at its best, taut and responsive, but without the rather uncomfortable firm edge that you get on more conventionally suspended, lesser MiTo models. Another unique Cloverleaf fitment is this freshly developed 6-speed short shift manual gearbox, which is as precise and responsive as you'd hope. A little less impressive is the dynamic steering torque system, DST, which is supposed to give a kind of counter steering effect to combat oversteer and help maintain an even course through quick corners. Now no doubt it does, but the whole electric setup feels rather over-assisted and a lot vaguer than I'd expect from a car of this kind. Much better thought out is Alfa's clever Q2 differential, which diverts engine torque to the wheel that has the grip to use it, so uselessly spinning wheels aren't a part of hard cornering. You won't need to over-brake into corners as body roll's well controlled, but if you do, then there's a CBC cornering brake control system to discharge the pressure on each wheel and maintain vehicle stability. Already one of the more exciting Superminis to look at, with sleek styling derived from Alfa's 450 brake horsepower 8C Competizione supercar, this MiTo is only going to attract more attention in Cloverleaf guise. The styling is generally beefed up to reflect the car's sporting prowess, with more aggressive bumpers, 17-inch alloy wheels, bespoke wing mirrors and these Cloverleaf badges on the front wings. It all works pretty well with styling that really could belong to no other marque, from the serpent-eating baby badge on the shield-shaped front grille to the round dual-effect LED taillights. Inside, there's very little to suggest this model's exalted place in the MiTo range. The only real giveaways being the steering wheel and the darkened headlining. Just as well then that the standard MiTo cabin is already such a quality thing, though the steering wheel could be better placed with a bit more rake adjustment. The dials though, just reading Aqua and Giri on them is enough to get any petrol head's heart beating. And those dials are hooded in true Alfa style, and there's a carbon fibre dashboard covering that's just part of a variety of racing materials used to impressively upmarket effect. Unfortunately, this is a 3-door only shape, but at least there's enough space in the back here for a couple of adults on shorter journeys, even if it is a bit awkward for them to get in to start with. Still, there's a lot more room here than the pathetic bursts you get in a Mini Cooper S. The 270-litre luggage bay is nearly twice a Mini's size, though the Alfa's opening is rather narrow with a highish loading lip. As usual, you can extend the space on offer by pushing forward the rear bench, though the split folding arrangement you'd normally expect is rather meanly at extra cost. A list price around the £18,000 mark is a lot for a high-performance Super Mini, but Alfa would point out that this particular model is brimming with technology, the active suspension system, for example, unique in the class. A slightly more powerful but smaller Mini Cooper S would save you £1,000 at first glance, but once you equip it to the Cloverleaf standard, or as close to that as you can get, then the prices are probably pretty comparable. As for other rivals you might remind me about, they're either mostly slightly less powerful, like Citroen's DS3 THP 150, or really rather too track focused, like a Renault Sport Clio 200. Equipment levels are high, but then you'd expect nothing else at this kind of price. There's remote central locking, air conditioning, electric windows, a trip computer, and the Blue & Me hands-free system with voice recognition and a media player with USB port. And of course there are a whole host of safety aids, 7 airbags and lots of electronic gizmos, including ABS brakes, EBD electronic brake force distribution, the VDC stability control setup, and ASR anti-skid control. The multi-air engine technology is as strong on economy as it is on performance. Considering its 170 brake horsepower output, the fact that this car can return 47.1 miles to the gallon on the combined cycle is remarkable, and its 139 grams per kilometre of CO2 showing isn't bad either. Residual values won't be quite as strong as the Mini, but they are better than many other rival powerful Super Minis. Insurance is Group 26 on the 1 to 50 grouping scale, and there's a 3-year unlimited mileage warranty. If the MiTo is just the kind of car Alfa should be building, and it is, then this Cloverleaf version is just the kind of sporting model that should headline the range. Thoroughly Italian, it's fast, well equipped, good looking, affordable to run, and even pretty practical. At last, a credible Alfa Romeo hot hatch. Whether it's also fun and involving may be something enthusiasts will want to argue over, but the active suspension and high-tech driving aids certainly have their place in this class of car and will doubtless play an increasing role in an evolving hot hatch market. What's not up for debate is that this car feels special. Alfa Cloverleaf models always have.